But first, we're going to take a little clip from Trump and Biden. Yesterday, Donald Trump went back to the White House with Joe Biden, and here's their meeting.
Well, Mr. President-elect and former President, thank you. Donald, congratulations. Thank you. And looking forward to having, like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome.
It's hard to believe that you're actually watching something real there. I keep waiting for somebody to jump in the middle of it and go, "Boo, it's just a joke." Ryan Harris is here, US journalist in California. Ryan, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Mike.
I mean, it's a nice thing to see. I have to say, I don't often take my hat off to Joe Biden, but I think he's done a good thing here, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, this is a courtesy that Donald Trump chose to forego when he lost the election in 2020 to offer that courtesy to Joe Biden. So, yeah, of course, it was nice of the outgoing president, and considering especially all the nastiness in the election, to have such a cordial meeting. I find the roaring fire in the background a bit unusual there.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a massive blaze going on
I did see, I thought something, because your eye is kind of drawn to it, isn't it? And you see this massive kind of inferno, and you wonder whether they've just thrown a load of, you know, secret papers onto the bonfire of the end of the Biden administration before he takes them away to his retirement home, you know?
Yeah, it's either the fireplace or the shredder there. But, you know, a couple other things I noticed about this meeting. You know, I was looking at Donald Trump's body language, and you'll notice he's sitting, you know, kind of slumped forward in the chair. And it was the same thing when he had his Oval Office meeting with Barack Obama. And so I did a little reading on body language, and the experts say that sort of indicates boredom or indifference or a lack of confidence, which I would find honestly hard to believe from Donald Trump, lacking any confidence there.
Well, maybe like us, he was expecting something else to happen. He was waiting for somebody to come in and kind of usher him out or something, or drag, you know what I mean? Because it was such an unusual scene that you didn't quite believe it.
No, and you'll notice all the media in the shot there too.
Right.
The other thing that you know was sort of funny to watch is as soon as their let's say roughly 90 seconds for the photo opportunity was up, you get the young press assistants. Okay, media, time to go. Get out, move along. And there's always this sort of hesitation to move. Having been in this group before, I'm not in the Oval Office, but around the president, I can tell you, you know, they're doing their best to push you out, and we're doing our best to stay as long as we can and try to ask questions and that sort of thing. And the other thing that stands out about this meeting is that Melania Trump was not there to accompany her husband to the White House. And that's sort of been a theme of the campaign. I mean, she was at the convention and, you know, there on election night and that sort of thing, but otherwise she's sort of been invisible. And
although she has spoken a few times, hasn't she? She spoke a couple of times in the campaign as well.
She did. She spoke out against, you know, in favor of a woman's right to choose, going against her husband's party and their general platform. But it really makes me wonder if there's something going on there within the Trump family.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out in the fullness of time. The big story, I suppose, for most people as well now is that Trump is kind of appointing with quite alarming speed a whole bunch of people who are going to serve in his new cabinet. The latest one, of course, Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Let's have a look at what he had to say yesterday. Not yesterday, but a while ago.
Seems like every time I turn around, they're engaged in surveillance or list building or monitoring, and I don't care if it takes every second of our time and every ounce of our energy. We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them if they do not come to heel.
It's going to be quite an interesting 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. And, you know, I'm glad you brought up Matt Gaetz first, because this is the most controversial of the appointments so far, because Matt Gaetz was not only under investigation by the Department of Justice, an investigation which Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland said didn't warrant any criminal charges, but he's still, until today, when he resigned from the House after word of the appointment, under a House ethics probe, accused of using illicit drugs, sexual misconduct, sex trafficking, possibly engaging in relations with a girl that's just 17 years old, which is illegal in a lot of places. And so, you know, one analyst said something that really stuck with me, and that's that maybe they've chosen Matt Gaetz because this one's so wild and so much attention will be focused on it that other Trump appointees will cruise through their Senate confirmation processes. And that's the other thing to keep in mind, too. Donald Trump has said he wants the Senate to adjourn so that he can make all these appointees as recess appointments, which means he gets them for 2 years without any sort of confirmation hearing. I got to tell you, that kind of sounds like a page out of the Project 2025 playbook being played out. Now, there are some Republican senators who say they're not necessarily ready to give up their power of advice and consent. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I don't think even with I believe a 3 or 4 seat majority in the Senate, that they would get enough to take that step to adjourn and allow Trump to make these appointments as recess appointments.
Right. So Gaetz may be the fall guy, in other words, you know, so they get everybody else through and they sacrifice him and say, well, that you can have him, we'll take everybody else.
Yeah, that was, again, one analyst's opinion there, but, you know, in a way it makes sense. But he's made some other appointments. This nomination of Pete Hegseth, who is a major in the Army National Guard and a Fox News host, as Secretary of Defense. Now, this is a man who lacks the experience probably necessary to run a department of between 2 and 3 million people. He's a mid-level officer who would then essentially ascend to the height of the U.S. military hierarchy. And he has said some things like he is happy to serve near women and that women do a great job serving in the military, but that they don't belong in combat situations. You know, he's also talked about, you used the term woke here a little while ago, pushing out woke or liberal generals and you know, paring down the higher ranks of the military to those who would be more conservative and more likely to go along with orders from Donald Trump. So that's an interesting appointment, and really what you see with a lot of these. Tom Homan is the so-called border czar. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is the head of the Department of Homeland Security, and some of the others. You're seeing basically a lot of Trump sycophants being appointed here, people who will be loyal and go along with Donald Trump. And frankly, so far, the one that seems to make the most sense is Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, because he has a lot of foreign policy experience. A lot of these other people sort of lack the experience needed for these jobs. So it'll be interesting to see if there are Senate confirmation hearings, how those go.
Right. I mean, given the way that the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan, maybe they need a bit of a fresh broom in the place to see how it all should be run. But there we are. Ryan Harris, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Ryan Harris, US journalist in California.